8. Today we're going to be talking about timing and also luck and how that always plays a part in our journey as entrepreneurs. So, it's not always something that's talked about, but most entrepreneurs have had a lot of luck involved. Obviously, hard work is where we are able to put ourselves in the position to be lucky, but there's definitely usually luck involved on our journey as an entrepreneur. So, there's definitely times where timing mattered more than skill. Definitely in my journey, I'm sure a lot of other entrepreneurs as well. So, you know, I think back on my journey, and there's a lot of different moments where, if the timing wasn't there, then the whole game would be changed for me, and I have no idea where I would be. So it's definitely an important part of business. And remember, when we say luck plays a part in all this, that doesn't replace hard work, right? We need to work hard and we need to put ourselves in a position to where the luck matters and it can actually do something for us. So don't just think you got to wait around and be lucky, or that the people that are successful were just lucky. But we do need a little bit of luck on the way, and we do need some of that perfect timing along the way where you go, wow, that was, perfect timing. Thank goodness. I think that's been a part of all of our stories as entrepreneurs. So let's go ahead and take some questions here. So I see that Adrian is asking the question: was there ever a moment where things worked out mostly because of timing, not because you did something perfectly? Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of times where timing just worked out great. That's just how it is. As an entrepreneur, you're going to run into situations where you say, wow, the timing was perfect on that. Thank goodness we met that person then, or started working with these people then, or found out this information then, whatever the case is. Timing is huge. And there's many examples in the past where that has played a big part in everything that we do. An example that I could think of where timing played a huge role, and really luck played a huge role, was one of my mentors. He's passed away since, rest in peace, Jay Hatch. One of my mentors, actually, the way that we met him was just absolutely kind of a fluke, and it was just at the perfect time, and it just all worked out to where he absolutely changed my life by helping with my business and mentoring me and all that kind of stuff. Would definitely not be where I am today without this gentleman. So what happened was, my mentor, who would become my mentor, he had a intern calling people to try to build partnerships. So they were calling, this was in the music business, they were calling different music companies and record labels and promotion companies like we were at the time. And he was just trying to build partnerships. And so he happened to call our office. So his intern happened to call our office, speak to somebody. They gave me the phone. I got on the phone with the intern, and he said, I'm going to have Jason call you. And so he ended up calling me on this random call that his intern had set up. And he was based in New York. And he said, yeah, I'm looking to network with people. This is what I do. And we said, wow, we actually have an event coming up in New York, because we had just started the first year of our music conference and we decided to do it in New York. So right at that time, we were planning a music industry conference in New York, and we didn't really know many people in New York, so we needed help. So his intern just happened to call us to try to, he was just calling a list of general, excuse me, his intern was calling a list of just general music companies to work with, happened to set up the call with him. When I got on the call with him, we happened to be setting up an event in New York, and that happened to be where he was from. And what happened was he came to, the event, and it absolutely changed the game. He became my mentor, and ended up changing the path of where we went with our business. And that was all based on luck and timing, right? It was a pretty lucky thing for his intern to be calling people, and for the person that answered the phone at my office to actually put them through, and for me to then get on a call with with Jason, who would become my mentor, and then for us to be happening to plan, be planning an event in New York at that time and need help with it. If those things all didn't align, I would have never met my mentor, who absolutely changed my life, changed our business in so many ways. So that's an example of perfect, timing, as well as just luck in general of making that connection. So, rest in peace, Jason, Jay Hatch. He definitely changed my life, and was a great mentor. So, question here from Lena: what's an opportunity you almost missed just because you didn't realize how big it would be at the time? Okay, this is a good one because it piggybacks off the last story. So when we were, running a music company, we wanted to start doing a music conference, a yearly conference. And so we hadn't done events yet. We had attended a lot of music industry conferences and events, but we hadn't actually done any events yet ourselves. And so we decided to do the first one in New York, and we thought we were always going to do it there, right? We knew some people in New York, so we and that was back when music wasn't as big as it is in like Atlanta and Miami and things like that now. So New York was probably the main place to go. So we did our first event in New York, and it went really well. It didn't change the game for us or anything, but it definitely went well. We made some connections, including, who would become my mentor. And so since that first event, we had moved to Miami. So we did the first event in New York when we still lived in Portland, and then we had moved to Miami a few months after that New York event. So as the second annual conference that we were planning comes up, I'm thinking we're doing it in New York still. We were planning to do it as a yearly conference. So I'm thinking we're going to do it in New York every year. And, we were now living in Miami, and one of our consultants said, you guys should do the conference in Miami this year. You shouldn't do it in New York. You should do it in Miami. And this was right around the time where Miami was really heating up as a hotbed of music. And so we did it in Miami, and that absolutely changed everything. I don't know why I was thinking that we should do it in New York, and I even fought with my business partners about it. Not a serious fight, but we argued about it. And I don't know why I was stuck on trying to do it in New York, when doing it here in Miami was such a better experience and such a better outcome, and absolutely changed the trajectory of our business. So I almost missed that opportunity. I don't know why I couldn't see it, but sometimes that's why it's great to have, business partners. They saw something, my business partners and a consultant that we had at the time saw things differently than me. And they were absolutely right. I don't know why my vision wasn't aligning at that time, but it just wasn't. And so I did almost miss it, and it absolutely changed the trajectory of our business. All right, question here from Miles. Have you ever looked back and realized one random decision changed everything? Yeah. I actually have a lot of stories of where one decision kind of changed everything. Um, yeah, there's a lot of times where there's kind of some key decisions, but you don't really know that they're those ones right then, right? For us to go from an online company to doing events back, during my first business, for us to go from an online company to doing in-person events, it wasn't the big change that I thought it would be at the beginning. It was just kind of like, hey, we're trying all kinds of stuff. Well, yeah, sure, let's try that. That works. My mentor had, kind of already been doing those type of events, so he told us, how to do it and helped us with it. So, you know, it wasn't that big of a deal when we decided, okay, we'll go from online to doing some events. That changed my life. That changed our business forever. Went from doing 0 events to doing 30 events every single month across 7 different countries and 60 cities. So that decision of, hey, let's try an event, that absolutely changed everything. and not only did I get to, did it change the trajectory of our business and change the trajectory of my life. I got to go to all those cities when we first started doing the shows. I was going to every event. And so I've gotten to go all around the world to, 7 different countries doing the events. And obviously we had our team handle them later, and we built out a bigger team to handle them all, but it was a blessing to be able to go to all those different cities. So, that company allowed me to travel the world, and it was great to go all to these different places. And so again, to go back to the beginning of the story, we didn't know it was going to change the game for us like it did. And there were so many other decisions along the way, and some of them didn't work, and we tried different stuff. But that one decision of like, okay, we'll try an event, it just absolutely changed everything. So you got to try different things, test different things. And, once those started working, that's when we said, wow, not only does this work, but we can make this scalable. And that's definitely the key. All right, so question here from Cassidy. What's something that only worked because the market was ready for it right then? So something with us that only worked because the market was ready for it right then was way back in the day when we used to do mixtapes. And that was, when mixtapes were the thing. And so that was really something for its time. We were there, not in the beginning, but very early on when mixtapes, and I'm talking about the CD era of mixtapes, right? So, and when online mixtapes and the big mixtape websites and music blogs and stuff started popping up, that was very much for its time. So that company and what we were doing with those mixtapes was something that could only really be done then. And so to answer your question there, Cassidy, looking back, it's just because the market was ready for it. The market's not ready for it now, right? No, nobody's putting out CDs, mixtapes on CDs, or, mixtapes in general, but that was what we could do at the time and what we were doing and what we found success in at the time. And so, it was that situation where it only worked because the market was ready for it right then. It wouldn't have worked 5 years before, and it wasn't really working, 10 years after. So it's definitely something that the timing was right. We were lucky to be in the position that we were in, like at the time that we were in, and know the people that we did to be able to pull it all off. But it was definitely something that was for that time period, as opposed to some of the stuff that we've done since has been more so stuff that can, last in any type of time for the most part. Except for doing events during COVID was obviously a huge issue. All right, question from Julio. Was there a time you did everything right and it still didn't work out? Yeah, absolutely. Well, at least I feel like I did everything right and it still didn't work out. So I think as entrepreneurs, we all have those times where we feel like we did everything right, things still didn't work out. But remember, we got to keep in mind going into this, most of it's not going to work out, right? We know most businesses fail. We know most products or services that are launched fail. So we got to go into it with an open mind, knowing that that's always not just a possibility, but it's going to happen. And so, there's definitely times where at least I feel like I did everything right. I feel like my team did everything right, and it still didn't work out. That's just the way it goes. We got to move on, change things, adjust things, or move on to a new idea. And that's just the way it is. Okay, question here from Brielle. What's a lucky break you don't usually talk about because people assume it was a skill? What's a lucky break I don't usually talk about? I've had a lot of lucky breaks. To tell you the truth, I think the luckiest breaks I've had are the people that I've met, because I've had a few mentors that absolutely changed everything for me. And then I've had a few great business partners. And so I think for me, meeting them, knowing them, being mentored by them, and them being kind enough to help me out, I think that's what made me the most lucky at the end of the day, was the people that mentored me and helped me out, and still do to this day. So shout out to my mentors. All right, question here from Dominic. How much of your early success do you think came from being in the right place at the right time? I don't know, maybe 50-50 or something like that. Obviously, the hard work is what did everything, but having the right idea at the right time, meeting the right people to execute it, yeah, it's absolutely part of it. But again, it's not luck. It's not sit back and, oh, well, I'm waiting to get lucky. It's putting hard work in and it's doing it now, right? Because if you're not doing it now, you're never going to run into that luck. Every day that goes by, you could possibly run into the right person, meet the right person, do the right thing, think of the right idea to further your business. But if you don't start your business now, then that's never going to happen. So you don't allow luck a chance to get to you if you're not prepared for it. All right, question from Ria here. Was there ever a deal or connection that felt totally random but ended up huge? Yeah, I kind of went over that just a minute ago of our when I met my mentor. It was a totally random way of meeting. His intern happened to call our office and want to set up a meeting just to talk about general networking. And we happened to be planning an event in New York at the time, and he was in New York. And so, he got on the phone with us and said, "Hey, I'll help you with your guys' event and I'll come and bring people out and all that kind of stuff." And so this random call that his intern made of just a huge list that his intern had of companies to call to network with ended up, getting him involved in our event. And when I met him in person at our event, he ended up becoming my mentor and absolutely changed my life. And he's a great person. So he's since passed away. Rest in peace, Jay Hatch. And that was such a random course, turn of events that ended up absolutely changing my business and my life in general. Okay, question here from Zach. What's something you failed at that might have worked if the timing was different? What's something I failed at that might have worked if the timing was different? Well, it's not necessarily something I failed at, but I wish I got into the mortgage industry sooner. I got into the mortgage industry once COVID had happened. And so at the beginning, there were pretty low rates, but I didn't actually end up owning my own mortgage company until a few years later. So got into the business, partnering with other companies, but wasn't actually the owner of my own mortgage lending company until rates were very high. So getting into the business at the place where rates were low and business was booming, we were partnering with other companies and building it up to where we can launch our own mortgage lending company. But by the time we did launch our own mortgage lending company, that frenzy was over and rates rose higher than they ever had in the past, 50 years or whatever the statistic was. So that is my regret that, I wish we would have started our own mortgage company before the COVID boom. Obviously, everybody wishes they did, but instead of us, being able to put it together a couple years after, I wish we could have put it together a couple years before, and it would have been a much different journey. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead and wrap it up then. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Remember, if you need help starting your business, you can go ahead and go to foundingwithoutfunding.com and get the book and the course to help you start or grow your business. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the